Don't ignore that penny in your change jar. It could be worth far more than 1 cent. Rare wheat pennies, key dates, and error coins have sold for hundreds, even thousands. Most people spend them without ever checking. But that little copper coin might be a hidden fortune waiting to be found. The 1972 United States 1-cent penny error is one of those fascinating stories in the world of numismatics that proves how something so small and ordinary can turn into a piece of treasure worth thousands of dollars. Every day, millions of people handle pennies without giving them a second thought. They're tossed into tip jars, left in car cup holders, and dropped into piggy banks. But when it comes to the 1972 penny, specifically the double die obverse error, those who pay attention to the details may stumble across a discovery that can transform a coin worth 1 cent into one that commands tens of thousands of dollars at auction. It is the kind of story that keeps collectors searching, reminding everyone that sometimes the most valuable things are hiding in plain sight. To understand why the 1972 penny error is so important, you have to first picture what life was like in that time. The year was filled with major events shaping American history. The Vietnam War was raging, the Watergate scandal was just beginning to simmer, and American culture was in the middle of a dramatic shift. Amid all that, the U.S. Mint was steadily producing coins that would carry the face of Abraham Lincoln, a design that had already been in circulation since 1909. The Lincoln cent had long been familiar to the American public, and in 1972, nobody expected that some of these pennies would turn out to be so different that they would capture the attention of collectors 50 years later. The key to the 1972 penny error lies in what's known as the double die obverse. This error occurs when the hub, which transfers the design to the die, presses it more than once but slightly out of alignment. This results in a doubling effect on the coin's surface, most visible in the inscriptions and sometimes on Lincoln's features. On the 1972 double die obverse penny, the doubling is bold and dramatic. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled, as if they were shadowed by another layer of text. Even the date itself shows clear signs of doubling. Unlike more subtle varieties where magnification is required to spot the difference, the 1972 double die error can often be seen with the naked eye, making it one of the most striking and desirable mistakes ever produced. Collectors prize this coin because of its unmistakable character. While there are other double die pennies in American history, such as the legendary 1955 version, the 1972 issue is remarkable for both the clarity of its doubling and the fact that multiple varieties exist. In fact, the Mint identified several different double die varieties in 1972, but only the first one, known as 1972 DDO No. 1, carries the kind of dramatic doubling that excites collectors and drives up prices. This variety is rare, but it did escape into circulation, meaning that some lucky individuals found them mixed in with ordinary pennies. The value of these coins has been proven time and again at auctions. A 1972 double die obverse penny in uncirculated condition has sold for astonishing amounts. In top grades, these coins have commanded prices over $10,000, and in some exceptional cases, closer to $15,000 or more. But what truly sparks engagement and amazement is when we consider the highest auction records. One of the finest known examples, graded superbly high, has achieved prices upwards of $20,000 at major numismatic auctions. For a penny that originally cost a single cent, this represents one of the most incredible returns on investment imaginable. The popularity of the 1972 double die penny is also tied to its accessibility. Unlike some rarer coins that only exist in tiny numbers, this error was produced in enough quantity that there are still examples floating around today. That means ordinary people still have a chance, though a slim one, of finding one in pocket change or in an old jar of coins. The possibility of discovery is part of what makes this story so engaging. Everyone who hears about it can't help but wonder if they might have one hidden away. That suspense, that hope, is what drives so many to dig through their collections and examine their coins more closely. The doubling on the 1972 penny also has an almost artistic quality. When you look at it under magnification, the letters appear almost like a drop shadow or a mirrored reflection, giving the coin a distinctive character unlike anything else in circulation. For collectors, this is not just an error but a piece of beauty. It stands as a reminder that even mistakes can produce something remarkable, something that feels intentional despite its accidental origins. Stories of discovery fuel the legend of this coin. People have reported finding them tucked away in rolls purchased from banks, or in small collections inherited from relatives. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a penny you thought was worth only face value is actually a coin that could sell for thousands. It is that kind of life-changing moment that makes numismatics so captivating. The 1972 double-die penny is not just a coin. It is a symbol of hidden potential, a reminder that sometimes we overlook treasures because they appear too ordinary. The auction houses have repeatedly highlighted the demand for this coin. Major firms like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have handled high-grade examples that stirred intense bidding wars. When a coin like this comes to market, collectors know they may not see another example of the same quality for years. That urgency drives prices higher, with the best of the best crossing the $20,000 mark. But even in lower grades, these coins command respect. A circulated example still sells for hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on its condition and clarity of doubling. When you compare this to ordinary pennies, the difference is staggering. A regular 1972 penny is still only worth 1 cent in circulation. But add that doubling error, and suddenly you're holding a ticket to an auction where bidders are willing to pay thousands. That dramatic contrast is what captivates both seasoned collectors and newcomers to the hobby. It shows that sometimes small differences create monumental value. For those looking for a coin with both history and allure, the 1972 double-die obverse penny represents one of the most exciting finds. It carries the face of Lincoln, a president whose legacy continues to inspire, combined with a minting mistake that turned a routine coin into a collector's dream. It is a reminder that perfection isn't always the most valuable thing. In this case, imperfection is what gives the coin its worth. The best part is the possibility that one is still out there, waiting to be found. Maybe it's sitting in a coffee can of old change, or in a roll of pennies from the bank, or even in a forgotten jar in someone's attic. That chance, however small, fuels the imagination. For every collector, the dream is the same: to be the one who uncovers a treasure hiding in plain sight. The 1972 double-die penny keeps that dream alive, so the next time you pick up a penny, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look at the date, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Look for that doubling, those shadows of letters that hint at something rare. Because if you happen to stumble across one of these error coins, you may just find yourself holding not 1 cent, but a piece of history worth more than $20,000. And if the condition is truly exceptional, the best auction prices have shown that it can climb even higher, rewarding those who pay attention with a fortune that started as just a penny. The 1976 United States 1-cent penny is a coin that on the surface looks ordinary, yet it carries within it a fascinating connection to history and an even more exciting story for collectors who chase error coins. When most people think of 1976, they think of the bicentennial celebrations, the 200th anniversary of America's independence. The mint struck special quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins that year with dual dates, 1776 to 1976, and unique designs honoring the country's 2 centuries of existence. But the humble 1-cent penny remained unchanged, still bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions of these coins poured into circulation, blending in with everyday pocket change. And yet, among those billions, mistakes happened, errors that would transform some of these pennies into treasures commanding remarkable prices at auctions. Collectors today know that the 1976 penny can be far more than a single cent. In fact, certain error examples have sold for extraordinary amounts, with some bringing tens of thousands of dollars when put on the auction block. While the exact value depends on the type of error and its condition, there have been sales ranging from tens of thousands all the way to over $100,000 in the most dramatic cases. Those numbers alone make the 1976 penny worth a second look, not because of its face value but because of its potential hidden fortune. To understand why the 1976 penny is so special in error form, you first need to appreciate its background. In 1976, pennies were still struck primarily in bronze, made up of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This composition gave them that rich reddish-brown look that copper coins are famous for. The obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, showed Abraham Lincoln's portrait, a design that had been used since 1909 and was already one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The reverse, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, had been introduced in 1959 and continued through 2008. Billions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints in 1976, which would make anyone assume these coins are common, ordinary, and worth little more than face value. But when you look closely at error varieties, the story changes dramatically. Error coins happen for many reasons: equipment malfunctions, planchet preparation issues, or die problems. For the 1976 penny, some of the most valuable errors include off-center strikes, double strikes, die breaks, wrong planchets, and clipped planchets. Imagine holding a penny where Lincoln's face is shifted noticeably to the side, leaving part of the coin blank. That's an off-center strike, and depending on how dramatic the shift is, such a coin can bring thousands. Or picture a coin that was struck twice by mistake, so that Lincoln's profile and the lettering appear doubled and ghost-like. These are incredibly eye-catching and bring a premium at auction. There are also wrong planchet errors, where a 1976 penny design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin. These types of errors are exceptionally rare, and when they surface at auctions, bidders compete fiercely, driving prices sky-high. Auction results prove just how much excitement these errors generate. In past years, 1976 penny errors have appeared in major numismatic auctions and sold for amounts that shock casual observers. Coins with dramatic off-center strikes have sold in the range of several $1,000s. A spectacular double strike example once pushed bidding to more than $30,000, showing just how much collectors are willing to pay for standout errors. And the rarest wrong planchet or high-grade unique error coins have achieved prices reaching over $100,000. These auctions become stories in themselves, where a coin intended to be worth 1 cent suddenly changes hands for a sum large enough to buy a car, pay for college tuition, or even put a down payment on a home. That kind of transformation is what makes coin collecting so captivating. People love the idea that something so ordinary could carry extraordinary value. A penny that most people wouldn't even stoop to pick up off the street becomes the centerpiece of an intense bidding war among serious collectors. The drama of the auction room, the rising numbers, and the excitement of a final hammer price in the tens of thousands all add to the mystique of the 1976 penny error. It's not just a coin anymore. It's a treasure, a historical artifact, and a symbol of the unexpected wealth hidden in plain sight. What adds another layer of intrigue is the timing. The bicentennial year is remembered for its celebration of American history, its special coin designs, and its national pride. To have errors tied to that exact year makes them even more desirable. Collectors see them not only as rare minting mistakes but also as pieces of bicentennial memorabilia, tying them to a milestone moment in U.S. history. That connection adds weight to their desirability, and it explains why collectors will pay more for these 1976 errors than they might for similar errors in other years. The demand for error coins has grown steadily over time, with social media and online marketplaces bringing more attention to unusual finds. People have started looking more closely at their pocket change. Stories circulate of someone finding a rare error coin in a jar, a drawer, or a coin roll from the bank, only to later discover it's worth thousands. This sense of possibility keeps collectors and even everyday people engaged. The 1976 penny error fits perfectly into this narrative, because it's a coin that anyone could stumble across. It doesn't come from a special set or a limited release. It was part of everyday circulation. That means it could be hiding in collections, old piggy banks, or family coin jars even today. Every collector has a story about the coin that got away or the one that changed their perspective forever. For some, the 1976 penny error has been that coin. Stories from past auctions show that collectors who were willing to take risks and bid high walked away with pieces that have only grown in value over time. Those who hesitated missed opportunities, only to watch prices climb in later years. That lesson continues to fuel the chase, reminding people that when it comes to error coins, hesitation can cost dearly. What makes this coin so powerful as a storytelling piece is the contrast between its face value and its potential auction value. A coin meant to buy nothing more than a fraction of a stick of gum in 1976 is now valued like fine art. The idea that a 1-cent penny could sell for $30,000, $50,000, or even more than $100,000 creates a sense of wonder and disbelief that draws people in. It engages collectors and non-collectors alike, because everyone understands the idea of a penny, but not everyone knows that a penny could be worth a fortune. The legacy of the 1976 penny error continues to grow with each discovery and each auction. Collectors keep their eyes open, knowing that these coins are out there, waiting to be found or brought to light. With auction records proving their worth, the market for them remains strong, and their value is likely to continue rising as time goes on. So the next time you come across a penny dated 1976, don't dismiss it as pocket change or let it slip by unnoticed. Take a close look. Study its details. Check if Lincoln's profile is shifted, if the lettering looks doubled, or if the coin seems oddly shaped or thinner than usual. Because hidden in that coin could be an error worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even over $100,000. That 1-cent piece could be the key to unlocking an unexpected treasure, the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into a life-changing moment. And that is why the 1976 penny error holds such a powerful place in numismatics, blending history, rarity, and the thrill of possibility into one small but extraordinary coin. The 1979 United States 1-cent penny is one of those fascinating coins that seems so common, so ordinary, that most people would never think twice about it. Billions of them were struck, and for decades they have passed from pocket to pocket, rattled around in jars, and slid across countertops during everyday purchases. Yet, hidden within that enormous production run are rare and unusual errors, the kinds of mistakes that slip quietly past the mint's inspection process but later become the holy grail for collectors. These errors have transformed a simple coin worth just 1 cent into a piece of history capable of selling for astonishing sums at auction. For those who love numismatics, the 1979 penny error is a perfect example of how patience, attention, and a sharp eye can uncover treasures in the most unexpected places. By 1979, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 70 years. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, the obverse carried the now iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, the first time a U.S. president had ever appeared on circulating coinage. The reverse in 1979 still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced by Frank Gasparo in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Billions of these coins poured from the mint every year, struck in copper alloy, and their uniformity was intended to be perfect. But as history reminds us, perfection is never absolute, and within those billions of coins emerged errors that would later command extraordinary attention. Error coins captivate collectors because they reveal a hidden story about how coins are made. In 1979, just as in other years, minting errors could occur when dies were misaligned, blanks were fed incorrectly, or planchets were struck under unusual conditions. Some 1979 pennies were found with dramatic off-center strikes, leaving part of Lincoln's face or the memorial design missing and a blank crescent of metal visible. Others showed double die errors, where inscriptions like Liberty or the date appeared doubled, creating an unmistakable effect under close inspection. More remarkable still were wrong planchet errors, where pennies were struck on blanks intended for dimes or foreign coins, making the coin lighter, thinner, or oddly shaped compared to a normal cent. Each of these errors tells its own story of minting mishaps, and each has become a rarity that collectors are willing to pay enormous sums to own. Consider the excitement of someone in 1979 who pulled an unusual penny from their pocket change. At the time, many people would have thought little of it, maybe even spent it without hesitation. But for the observant collector, that same coin could eventually lead to a life-changing discovery. Years later, auction houses began recording sales of these rare 1979 penny errors, and the prices have stunned both collectors and casual observers alike. Some of the most dramatic examples, particularly off-center strikes in high mint state condition, have realized auction prices well into the tens of thousands. Others with wrong planchet errors have sold for even more, with certain coins crossing the auction block for amounts that would make most people's jaws drop. One notable example of a 1979 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet surfaced in remarkable condition and sold at auction for prices exceeding what many would consider unthinkable for a coin originally worth just a cent. Another wrong planchet example, this one struck on a blank intended for a foreign coin, realized tens of thousands of dollars when it went to auction, proving once again how collectors chase after these anomalies with unmatched passion. Reports of coins reaching final bids upwards of $35,000, $50,000, and even higher make it clear that the 1979 penny error has a place among the most intriguing modern collectibles. The reason these coins sell for so much lies in a mix of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Billions of ordinary pennies exist, so an error penny is already unusual. But when that error is severe, easily noticeable, and preserved in near-perfect condition, the coin becomes exponentially more valuable. Auction houses frequently describe these coins as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and bidders respond with enthusiasm. The energy in the room when a rare 1979 penny error crosses the block is electric, as collectors recognize they are witnessing history. The final hammer price is not just a number. It is a reflection of how much value people place on rarity and uniqueness. For collectors, the 1979 penny error represents more than just financial gain. It represents the thrill of the hunt. Searching through rolls of coins, checking pocket change, visiting coin shows, and studying online listings are all part of the process. Each unusual coin discovered feels like striking gold, and the possibility of finding one is what keeps the pursuit alive. The dream that a 1-cent coin could turn into tens of thousands of dollars is intoxicating, and it fuels the curiosity of both seasoned collectors and those who are just beginning to explore the hobby. The symbolism of Lincoln on the obverse of these error coins adds another layer of meaning. Lincoln's legacy is one of resilience, leadership, and enduring value. To see his portrait appear on coins that themselves have endured as symbols of rarity and unexpected worth is almost poetic. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a structure dedicated to remembrance, becomes even more meaningful when it is struck imperfectly. It suggests that even within symbols of permanence and history, there is room for variation, and it is that variation that makes the coin so significant. The story of the 1979 penny error is also a reminder that treasures are often hidden in plain sight. For decades, these coins circulated unnoticed, tucked away in change drawers, jars, and pockets. It took the keen eyes of collectors to realize their importance, and it is through those discoveries that the legend of the 1979 penny error continues to grow. Even today, examples still surface from time to time, pulled from collections or discovered in rolls, sparking renewed excitement and driving fresh waves of interest. When auction results are shared, they inspire both awe and curiosity. Stories of coins that once lived among pocket change now realizing prices of $30,000, $40,000, or even higher fuel the imagination. People begin to look more closely at their coins, wondering if they too might stumble across a hidden gem. This ripple effect, where knowledge of value spreads outward, is part of what keeps the world of numismatics alive and thriving. The 1979 penny error has become a perfect ambassador for this truth, that the ordinary can hold extraordinary value. So the next time you find a penny from 1979, don't just toss it into a jar without a glance. Take a moment to study it. Look at the date, the lettering, the edges, and the strike. Hold it under the light and see if anything appears unusual. What might look like a simple piece of copper could in fact be a coin with a story. A coin that once sold at auction for a price that could change someone's life. Somewhere in the pockets and drawers of America, there are still error coins from 1979 waiting to be found, and each one carries within it the possibility of discovery, history, and incredible value. The legacy of the 1979 1-cent penny error will endure, not just because of its rarity but because of the lessons it teaches. It reminds us that mistakes can create beauty, that flaws can generate value, and that treasures are often hiding in the most overlooked places. Whether you are a lifelong collector or someone just beginning to explore coins, the 1979 penny error is a story that captures the imagination and keeps the hunt alive. And if you are fortunate enough to find one, you may find yourself holding more than just a penny. You may be holding a piece of history that once stunned the world at auction. A piece of metal worth not just 1 cent but thousands upon thousands of dollars.